What's up, everybody? My name is David, Imel, Imel, however you want to say it. I don't really care because I don't really know how to say it myself. And here at Android Authority, we like to do a little thing we call Meet the Team. And given recent circumstances, I figured this would be a good time for me to do a little Meet the Team video myself. So I was born and raised in a little town called Smartville, California, which is kind of way up north near Lake Tahoe, but I spent all of my time in Nevada City and Grass Valley, California, where I went to school, did elementary school and high school there. If I could break myself into three main hobbies, I'd probably say that it is computer hardware technology, jazz and drumming, and also writing. I've been really into drumming all of my life, so when I was 5, I joined this group called Grass Valley Taiko, which is these large drums that you hit with these giant sticks called bachi, and we would perform all throughout California, and I did that until I was 14, but when I was in middle school, I joined the school jazz band, and have just been playing jazz and funk music and all of that kind of stuff all throughout my entire life. In high school, I actually formed this band called Loose Cannon Mariachi, which is also a huge part of my life. We are not currently together anymore, but it was a ska / jazz / rock orchestra, and we had drums, bass, guitars, saxophones, trumpets, everything. So that was definitely the most musical part of my life. And I still haven't been able to play as much as I would like where I'm currently at now, but I'm hoping to jump back into that soon. As far as writing is concerned, I've kind of always just been a writer as a hobby. In high school, I know it sounds really dramatic, but I wrote tons of poetry, and that kind of just eventually translated into writing for blogs, into stuff that I really enjoyed. So that kind of blends itself into the tech part of my life. Now, as to how I got into technology, I was kind of really into Nintendo and Pokemon as a kid, and I still kind of am, obviously. But when I was 5, I got my first video game, which was Pokemon Gold version. But we got a first computer around that same time too, and this whole electronics thing kind of interested me. I started tinkering with our computer. My parents had no idea what they were doing with it. So my sister and I would just kind of mess with it, look inside, you know, those old Dell HP compact cases. I get blamed for all the problems, which was probably our fault. Yeah, and when Google search kind of started blowing up, that just like blew my mind, because it was like you could get any information at any time. And to me, that was like the most crazy thing of all time. And even when I was like in middle school, elementary school, I was just like, how is it that we are not utilizing this to a fuller potential? So this is when the technology bubble was bursting. Everyone was just freaking out. So I thought that was absolutely amazing, and I would just sit on the computer for hours and be Googling things and going on Yahoo Answers, because that's where you found the information back then. When I was in middle school, we had a thing called Gilmore News Network, which was kind of this thing that we would put on with the teachers before school. We learned how to use all these cameras and all this editing software, and we had like Apple computers that were donated that we were working on, and just kind of learning Final Cut Pro and all this stuff as like little kids. So that was really cool. That was amazing, because I got to learn how to use all the computers, all the software, all the camera stuff, and I just got really interested in kind of like media in general. So we didn't really have anything like that at my high school, but I did start the Technology and Business Club at my high school, which was a very similar thing, but rather it was just we would meet every week and we would talk about like what's happening currently in technology and all the stuff that's going on. We had a senior project that we had to do when I was graduating high school, and what I chose to do was create an Android app. So it was this little app called Turtle Tank, which was dumb, but you know, it's an app. And you were just like this little turtle with a triangular shell, and then as you level up, you get more shapes for your shell. So you get a square and then a pentagon and a hexagon, so forth. You shoot pellets. It was really dumb. I did it for a hackathon, but it was really fun, and it kind of like made me really excited about Android. But if we kind of back up a little bit to the beginning of high school, that's when Android was kind of first starting to like blow up. I was actually able to convince my mom to let me get a smartphone because Google Maps came out and that became a thing, and I convinced her that I can find myself anywhere, anytime. I can find my way back to you, which was like a great reason. It was a good convincing tactic back then. But I remember I just was like researching the heck out of these phones, and the Droid Bionic was the phone that I just started being completely obsessed with and going on Google News and setting tags and getting email alerts every single time a new news article was published about this phone. And of course, it ended up being one of the most delayed phones of all time, which was terrible. But essentially, when Verizon was switching off of the unlimited data plan thing, that's when I was like, okay, you know, I'm done waiting for this phone. I just need to get unlimited data so that I can do unlimited data things. I ended up picking up a Htc Thunderbolt. This phone was amazing and I still miss it. It had a kickstand. It burned my hand though. It overheated when I was using Skype and like all this stuff together. Anyway, you don't need to know all this stuff. Htc Thunderbolt was amazing, but I had to return it and I switched it out for a Droid Charge, which was a far worse phone, and that was one of the worst decisions I've ever made, but I digress. Anyway, after high school, I went to UC Santa Cruz for college. I originally majored in straight computer science because I was just really into Google and everything, and Android, and I just really wanted to be the head of Android at Google eventually. Very, very long pipe dream of mine. So we'll see if that ever comes true. Obviously, it's not happening right now. Then my sophomore year at UC Santa Cruz, I discovered that we had this kind of dual major thing. It's called Technology Information Management, but it's kind of a combination between computer science and economics. So as soon as I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get into this like right now. I switched majors, and the next year I joined the Technology Information Management Association. I became the president of the association the next year. We went on company tours. We went to Google and Apple and Yahoo. But my freshman year of college, I really wanted to start writing, and I met someone who worked at this blog called OneTechStop.net, which was a phone blog, which is what I'd been wanting to do forever. And so he told me he worked at this small blog, which was a Windows Phone centric blog. It was, you know, technically focused on Windows Phone, but I really just wanted to start writing. I really just wanted to get a portfolio out there. So I asked him, like, can you ask your boss if you might be able to possibly, you know, get me a writing job there? So we asked him, I wrote a couple articles for them, and then they hired me. So I worked at One Tech Stop for about 2 years. Basically, I worked there from early in my sophomore year of college until sometime around my senior year, probably halfway through. I made a bunch of reviews for that channel. The video quality is probably not great. I'm pretty sure everything is really blown out because I really didn't know that much about cameras at that point. But again, it was just an amazing way to get a portfolio so that I could later apply to these other places. That's kind of how I got started with this tech journalism thing. So also, while about halfway through college, I actually landed a job at Intel as a systems engineer. So Intel is in Santa Clara, California, and I lived in Santa Cruz, California. So I started commuting an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day. I was working on their server stacks, and we were kind of installing new data centers, doing the computer hardware thing because I was really, really into like building PCs, and I would do it for people for side money and all that stuff. So I worked for them for about a year doing that, and then I got promoted to being a project manager for their wearables devices systems things. So I worked on a lot of the wearables and the Curie chip that they use in a lot of these wearables, but I had applied to Android Authority probably 8 to 9 months before that, just, you know, seeing what was out there. And then I got an email on the way to work one day, and they said, hey, like, we're opening this new thing called VR Source. Being a technology nerd like we all are, yeah, virtual reality is awesome, you know, it's really cool. So I said, yeah, of course. I still was technically in school, but I would go to work at Intel full time, and then during my lunch, I would do VR Source articles, and I'd go home, try to figure out what technically the professors did in class that day, and then I would do my homework, and then I would write like 1 or 2 more articles, and this was kind of a daily ritual. And then like sometime along the line there, I was finishing up with school, and I was kind of tired of doing the 9-to-5 office job thing at Intel. I was mostly just tired of commuting an hour and a half every single day. And so I kind of talked to the Android Authority people. I said, you know, my passion is really in writing and informing people about technology, and not really being in this kind of giant corporate structure like I thought it would be, because I always really, really wanted to work for Google. So Intel was like, you know, up there with Google for me. But I kind of learned that I really like journalism a lot more, and it's fun to like meet people, talk to people, help inform people about technology, interact with people. I talked to them for a while, and they said, you know, you've been working for us for a long time now, and if you want to come on full-time on board, then you can. So I quit my job at Intel, I moved to San Francisco, and that's where I'm at right now. You guys just recently saw my first Android Authority video, which I know that I'm making it better, I'm trying to get better, but this is kind of me diving straight in to this video side of things. So please bear with me while I learn, kind of just learning over time, taking your feedback and figuring out like what works and what doesn't. So it's a process, so thanks. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at today, and I really hope that you guys will bear with me as I kind of learn all the ins and outs of this industry. It's been like my dream for a really long time, so I'm kind of like finally living it, finally where I want to be, and I think that I can inform you in the best way possible. So thanks again. And if you're interested in the lives of anyone else, we've got a whole Meet the Team section on YouTube that you can go look at. You know, we've got Josh, Lon, Jace, Joe, everyone's over there. So go take a look and make sure you hit the little subscribe button down below and also the bell so that you get notifications for videos like this. You've heard the spiel. But I really hope to see you guys soon. So thanks again.